Hello, my dear adventurers. It's Max. Welcome to Sleepy Night Stories, where the evening grows gentle and the world of adventure unfolds at its own unhurried pace. Tonight, you'll be stepping into the shoes of a traveler, an adventurer setting out on their very first quest. Take your time with this one. Breathe slowly, let your shoulders soften, and really allow yourself to sink into the journey ahead. Maybe you're a young knight, fresh from the trials of your guild armor, gleaming, nerves humming, eager for a real taste of danger and glory. Or perhaps you're more inclined toward magic, tired of the endless dust of a wizard's tower, weary of being just another apprentice bound to books, ready at last to test your spells under the open sky. Or maybe, just maybe, you're a clever little scoundrel, quick of hand and quicker of wit, who has already picked every pocket in town and is now looking for a far bigger score. The backstory is yours, entirely yours, to decide. But no matter where you've come from or what shadows or triumphs lie behind you, all paths now lead to the same place, the village of Fairhaven Crossing. The cobbled streets carry the scent of hearth smoke and tilled earth, while notice boards across town sag beneath the weight of parchment requests. Some are simple wolves prowling too close to livestock, merchants in need of safe roads. Others are a stranger, a plea for something lost, a whisper of a haunted crypt at the very edge of town, where candles gutter in silence and brave hearts falter. And of course there is always the tavern. Its doors remain open to all, to late-night travelers with weary eyes, to rogues with shady intentions, to anyone in need of warmth and a mug of ale. Inside, you'll find plenty of voices, plenty of faces, and no shortage of quests to be taken for a pouch of coins, for a measure of fame, or perhaps for nothing more than an old farmer's quiet gratitude. So pack your healing potions, sharpen your short sword, adjust the straps of your pack, and let us begin. You remember your grandmother's cottage on Millpond Lane, the quiet little road that winds like a lazy stream through the heart of the village. The thought of her, the worry she would surely feel if you didn't check in, tugs gently at your conscience, and you make a mental note to visit before the day slips away entirely. Marcus, with his ever-calculating expression, agrees that the two of you will meet in just 2 days at the crossing of Pumpkin Grove Road, a location familiar, practical, and easy to remember. He mentions, almost casually, that he'll need to buy a few supplies, a couple of healing potions, some things to help with navigation, and the like, and that he intends to dig deeper into the local bandit problem while you handle other matters. The conversation closes with the sense of purpose that only comes when plans have been neatly set and the unknown feels just a little less daunting. You finish the last crumbs of bread lingering on your plate, the kind that scrapes satisfyingly against the wooden surface, and push back from the bar. Your pack feels lighter now, not from the food you've just consumed alone, but from the comfort of knowing allies are nearby. There is a quiet thrill in the idea of tackling a dangerous problem, Henrik's bandits, to be precise, with help at your side. It's an encouraging thought, and comforting too, because some of the most daring acts you read about as a child were not feats of lone heroes, but the work of a party working together. The stories of the paladin and her druid and ranger companions, tales of vampires felled and kingdoms saved, come back to you with a warmth that spreads through your chest. Yes, help is not a weakness. No, it is a quiet strength, something you decide firmly in your mind, reaching for your coin pouch, the small worn leather bag that clinks faintly as you move. You prepare to pay for the meal, but Gareth waves you off with a wide, almost conspiratorial smile. First one's on the house for a new face in town, he says, pride evident in his voice. He leans a little closer and lowers it. Besides, if you're planning to help Henrik with his bandit problem, consider it an investment in the community's well-being. You step back into the late afternoon air, a gentle breeze brushing against your face, and notice the coolness that has grown while you were inside. The argument around the notice board has thinned out, leaving only a few villagers browsing casually. This seems like the perfect opportunity to see what other small tasks might be available, opportunities to build experience, gain a reputation, and warm yourself to the rhythm of village life. The notices themselves are a fascinating mix. Mundane requests for seasonal work like apple picking, hay hauling, and fence mending sit side by side with more unusual tasks. Martra Sweetbread, the baker, has posted a call for someone to deliver bread to outlying farms. The local seamstress is looking for an apprentice, and the blacksmith is seeking iron ore. But one particular piece of parchment, slightly apart from the others, catches your attention. The handwriting is unmistakably that of a child. Careful, deliberate, yet uneven. The ink smudged in places, the letters wobbling as if unsure of themselves. Help, please. It begins a simple plea that immediately draws you in. My cat Whiskers fell down the old well behind Miller's Lane yesterday, and I can't get her out. She's scared and hungry, and keeps me company, but the well is too deep, and the sides are too slick. Papa says we can't afford to hire someone with proper rope and pulleys. We'll pay 2 silver pieces, my birthday money, to anyone who can rescue Whiskers. Please help. It is signed, carefully, Leah Thornfield, age 9 summers. Below, a note in neater handwriting reassures that the danger is real. The well is indeed too deep for normal rescue methods, and the sides too slick for climbing. You study the notice, imagining the small figure of the girl, pacing anxiously, worried for her pet. 2 silver pieces is not much, but the pull of helping, of doing something concrete, meaningful, and good tugs at your heart. Surely rescuing a cat from a well is a task manageable for someone beginning their adventures. This is exactly what starting small means, a gentle step toward greater deeds. The sun dips lower, painting the village in molten golds and soft ambers. You have enough light left to make your way to your grandmother's cottage on Milpond Lane, and it seems only sensible to check in with her before darkness falls. Following the directions in her letter, you walk through winding streets, each turn bringing you past cottages with tidy gardens, children darting past you in laughter, and the occasional stranger carrying baskets or bundles of produce. Milpond Lane is quiet, residential, a gentle sigh of calm in contrast to the busy market roads closer to the village center. The houses are older here, whitewashed walls, low thatched roofs, sloping over small windows like sleepy eyelids, and your grandmother's cottage sits slightly apart from the others. A flourish of verdant chaos in an otherwise orderly neighborhood. The garden is an explosion of life. Herbs and vegetables grow together in haphazard but functional harmony. Flowering vines climb trellises fashioned from what looks like driftwood and a small greenhouse. Pieced together from mismatched glass panes, glows faintly in the dying sunlight. The cottage itself is larger than you expected, a statement of both wealth and taste, though still warm and welcoming rather than imposing. Before you can knock, the door swings open with a soft creak, the smell of herbs and warmth washing over you. About time you showed up, your grandmother says, sweeping you into a hug that smells of woods, herbs, and the indefinable comfort of home. I was starting to think you'd gotten lost, arrested by the local patrol, or recruited into some fool's errand before you even found the place. Edith Moon, whisper, compact, strong. and with eyes that seem to miss nothing, regards you with a mix of relief and fondness. Her steel-gray hair frames a face weathered with kindness and experience, and the dark green dress she wears is practical, yet somehow elegant, pockets bulging with tools of her craft. "Come in before you let all the warm air out," she urges, stepping aside to let you pass. Inside, the cottage is cozy, beams low, tables cluttered with dried herbs, books, and oddities, and a fire crackles in a stone hearth that seems just large enough to roast a pig. Comfortable chairs surround a low wooden table, beckoning you to sit. "Sit down, love stew's keeping warm, and we need to talk," she says, ladling thick, rich broth into a wooden bowl. The aroma, earthy, herbal, and deeply nourishing, makes your stomach rumble in agreement. You settle into the chair, more comfortable than it looks, and eat eagerly, breaking the polite silence only with small, grateful remarks. You recount everything: your family back home, the journey to this village, your encounter at the Briar and Barrel, and the conversation with Henrik about his bandit problem. "Henrik wants help with the bandits," you explain. "I'm meeting a bounty hunter in 2 days to tackle it. Henrik's a good man, and that situation needs handling." Your grandmother nods approvingly, but you sense there's more on your mind. You pull out the crumpled notice about the cat. "I found this at the notice board. It seems like something I could help with, but I'm not sure how to get a cat out of a deep well safely." Edith examines it thoughtfully, lips pursed in concentration. "Leah Thornfield, sweet child. Though her father's got more pride than sense sometimes. That well's been a problem for years. Too deep for a normal rope rescue, and the sides slick as polished stone. You'd need magic for something like this, a levitation spell most likely." Your heart sinks slightly. Levitation is far beyond the simple tricks you learned at the academy. You could conjure flame, hold it for a moment, maybe, but lifting a cat magically, that was advanced work. "Where would someone get a levitation spell around here?" you ask, trying not to sound disheartened. "Cornelius Grinball," she says immediately. "Wizard with a tower north of the village. Paranoid, unpleasant, mean-spirited, but he has one of the most complete collections of scrolls and potions in the region. Of course, he'd never sell you anything. Considers most people beneath him." Her lips twitch, not quite a smile. "But I didn't say you'd have to buy it. Cornelius hoards magical knowledge for decades, refusing to share it. Some would argue that liberating a single scroll to save a child's beloved pet falls under justice rather than theft." She retrieves a rough map from a shelf, careful sketches marking the village, the tower, and an abandoned crypt system leading to the wizard's cellar. "He probably doesn't remember the crypt tunnels even exist," she explains. You swallow nervously. "You want me to go through haunted crypts to steal from a wizard?" Her laugh, gentle, teasing, washes over your anxiety. "You could always mine, or for the blacksmith, or gather plants for the herbalist. But I think you've got what it takes. You're my grandkid, after all." The map shows the route clearly underground, dark, but straightforward. She fixes you with a serious gaze. "Ask around tomorrow. Maybe you won't have to do this alone. Plenty of young folks like you are itching to prove themselves." Then, finally, she begins clearing the dishes. "Get some sleep. You'll need to be sharp for this kind of work." You retire to a small guest room, a narrow bed stacked with quilts, fragrant with lavender and cedar. The window frames a slowly darkening village. Your pack sits quietly in the corner, and for the first time in days, you feel truly safe. Sleep comes swiftly, carrying dreams of crypts, magical scrolls, and martyr sweetbread chasing you with her ancient tartlet recipe. Morning arrives slowly. The kind of morning that stretches like warm honey across the village rooftops, spilling golden light through narrow streets and onto the cobblestones. You wake to the gentle sound of wind brushing through the trees outside your grandmother's cottage, a faint rhythmic susurration that mixes with the distant crowing of a rooster and the soft coo of a dove somewhere beyond the garden wall. The quilts smell faintly of lavender and wood smoke, a comforting combination that eases the grogginess from your mind and body. You sit up, stretching, feeling each limb protest and then relax in turn, the quiet of the room settling around you like a soft blanket. The pack you left in the corner last night feels heavier now. Anticipation adds weight, though you haven't yet realized it. Breakfast is simple but nourishing. Eggs poached just so, with fresh bread and a smear of honey from the jars lining the kitchen shelf. Your grandmother hums while she works, moving about the space with the familiarity of someone who has lived here longer than the house has existed in memory. Every movement measured, graceful, yet unhurried. "Don't dawdle too long today," she says without turning, the hum of her voice blending seamlessly with the sizzle from the pan. The Crips wait for no one, and if you intend to confront Cornelius Grimbold, well, you'll need your wits about you. You smile faintly, a mix of nerves and excitement curling in your stomach, and silently vow to remain cautious, though a part of you already aches for the thrill of the unknown. After breakfast, you gather your things, your sword, the small satchel containing your few personal items, and the careful map your grandmother had drawn, and set off toward the edge of the village. The air is crisp, carrying the faint scent of baking bread from the briar and barrel, mingling with dew-soaked grass and the earthy perfume of damp stone. As you step along Millpond Lane, the village awakens gradually around you, a blacksmith hammering at the forge, sparks flying like miniature stars, clanging, ringing a soft chorus of early morning life, the grocer hauling crates of produce, children darting past with unsteady laughter trailing behind them. You reach the notice board, the same one you studied yesterday, and glance at the parchment from Leah Thornfield once more. The simple plea still tugs at your heart, a mixture of fear and hope distilled into jagged ink strokes. You pause, hand hovering over the paper, imagining the small tabby cat, its fur matted from rain, its green eyes wide with panic. A shiver runs down your spine, a mixture of excitement and nerves. The world of real danger waiting just a few streets away. Taking a deep breath, you tuck the notice safely into your satchel. It's decided today. You will rescue Whiskers. The path to the old well behind Miller's Lane is familiar, though a little overgrown. The edges of the lane still show signs of use. Small stones crunch underfoot, the sound muffled by a thin layer of fallen leaves. Birds chatter in the trees above, and somewhere off to the side, a squirrel darts across a branch, pausing to eye you curiously before bounding to another perch. You approach the well cautiously, noting the smooth stone walls and the dark void within. It is deeper than you anticipated, perhaps 30 feet at least, and the smooth, damp sides promise certain injury if you attempt to climb without magical aid. You take a moment to settle your breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and unroll the levitation scroll you managed to acquire from your grandmother's map instructions. The ancient parchment feels rough under your fingertips, brittle and delicate, yet humming faintly with contained magic. You trace the elegant, looping runes carefully, committing them to memory, feeling the power begin to thrum through your veins like a quiet heartbeat. The words feel alive, almost whispering in your ear, eager to be spoken aloud, eager to lift, to float, to protect. The air around you seems to thicken anticipation, magic, and the natural scent of damp stone mixing into a heady perfume of possibility. Whiskers, you murmur softly, voice careful, gentle, the name floating on the still morning air, catching in the stone walls of the well. The cat's meows echo faintly back at you, small, frightened, but growing stronger, as if encouraged by your voice. You raise your hand, fingers precise, gestures slow and deliberate, weaving through the invisible currents of the spell. The magic responds, subtle at first, like a whispering wind, then stronger, a steady pull connecting you to the frightened creature below. Slowly, cautiously, a small gray tabby begins to rise from the darkness, levitating in a shimmering bubble of energy that glows faintly in the morning light. The cat's fur is wet, streaked with mud, but unharmed, its tiny claws extending reflexively as it ascends. You guide it carefully, whispering softly, feeling the weight of responsibility and triumph in each careful movement. Finally, Whiskers reaches solid ground, padded feet, landing on damp earth with a soft, almost inaudible thud. The tabby darts behind the nearest hiding spot, conveniently Jasper's legs, if he happens to be there, eyes wide, pupils dilated, fur still slightly bristled. You crouch, speaking softly, allowing the small creature to calm, feeling your chest swell with satisfaction. There is no louder applause than the quiet relief of a life saved, and this small, perfect moment feels monumental. Laia emerges almost immediately, running with a mixture of awe and exhilaration. Her small hands scoop up the cat, squeezing it tightly to her chest. Tears of joy glisten on her cheeks, and Whiskers responds with purrs, a soft, vibrating confirmation that all is well. "Thank you kindly," her father says, voice low and heartfelt, extending a hand in gratitude. "I can't tell you how much this means to us." He ruffles Laia's hair affectionately, pride and relief mingling in his gaze. Other villagers, curious about the commotion, begin to emerge from their homes. Cautious smiles, whispered congratulations, the quiet hum of community recognition. Your task is complete, but the sense of warmth lingers, not from achievement alone, but from knowing you have helped someone in a meaningful, tangible way. Jasper, your companion in misadventure, joins you, eyes wide with admiration and mild exasperation. "That was daring," he breathes, still clutching the magical orb he insisted on holding, absolutely reckless, and yet, somehow brilliant. His usual theatrics are softened by genuine awe, and you can't help but smile at his mixture of relief and lingering terror. You remind him gently of the scroll, the spell, the careful precision required, but the satisfaction on his face betrays excitement too strong to mask. The two of you walk back toward the village center, the streets now fully awake, the morning alive with commerce, conversation, and the faint scent of fresh bread and baked pastries drifting from the briar and barrel. Villagers nod, smile, greet you, the sense of recognition growing in tandem with your confidence. Each footstep resonates in quiet rhythm with the memories of the morning magic, danger, triumph, and the small but profound act of kindness. When you arrive at the tavern, Gareth greets you with wide eyes and a grin that threatens to split his face. Word travels fast, he chuckles, clapping you on the shoulder. Seems the Thornfields are singing your praises. Well done, indeed. Jasper, never one to resist the spotlight, begins humming a ballad, soft at first, then louder, weaving the events of the morning into an impromptu song, musical threads dancing in the air. Patrons glance up, listening, rapt attention following the melody, the story of bravery and quick thinking rendered in note and verse. As the day unfolds, your sense of accomplishment grows, not from coin, not from recognition, but from the quiet magic of a task done well. Edith watches from her seat, hands folded neatly, eyes glinting with approval. "You're learning," she murmurs, voice soft, almost inaudible beneath the hubbub of the village. "Bravery isn't just recklessness, It's thoughtfulness, care, and a willingness to act when it matters. Today, you've shown all three. Her words settle over you like a warm shawl, comforting, affirming, grounding. Night falls eventually, the streets glow softly under lantern light, casting long golden reflections on the cobblestones. Stars blink faintly overhead, distant fires of possibility in the vast darkness. You walk home slowly, savoring the stillness, the gentle hum of village life, the faint night breeze teasing at your hair and the hem of your cloak. The warmth of satisfaction radiates from your chest, lingering even as exhaustion tugs at your limbs. Tomorrow brings the bandits, the next adventure, the next challenge. But for tonight, the world is quiet, safe, and exactly as it should be. You lie down again beneath the quilts in your grandmother's cottage. Max's previously Fox role replaced seamlessly in the story as your narrative companion and observer, a witness to your small but profound triumph. Sleep comes easily deeper than last night, carrying dreams of floating cats, magical scrolls, and whispered incantations on the breeze. You drift content, knowing the world feels a little lighter, a little safer because of what you have done. And in the shadows outside, the village rests, unknowing yet grateful, held in the quiet, protective embrace of those willing to step into danger on behalf of others. The next morning begins with a gentle hush over Fairhaven, the kind of quiet that presses softly against your ears, making the creak of the door and the faint rustle of leaves seem almost musical. The sky is painted in pastels, pale lavender stretching into soft rose, fading into gold along the horizon. You rise slowly, savoring the comfort of the warm bed beneath you, the lingering scent of lavender quilts, and the quiet anticipation in your chest as you prepare to meet Marcus at Pumpkin Grove Road. Your cloak brushes lightly against the wooden floorboards as you step into the chill morning air, and the crispness invigorates you, sharpening your senses and steadying your pulse. Marcus waits where he promised, long before the sun has fully climbed the sky. He moves with a measured stillness, eyes scanning the trees, nostrils flaring faintly as he takes in the smells of the forest edge. You can hear the distant calls of birds and the soft rustle of small creatures moving in the underbrush, each sound layering the scene with life, a chorus of anticipation and hidden movement. Jasper, ever the restless bard, adjusts his lute casually, strumming the strings softly, the notes barely rising above the natural symphony of the morning, yet still carrying a sense of tension, threading unease into the air. Marcus shares his discoveries quietly. 6 bandits have entrenched themselves in an old hunting lodge, their presence a growing threat to the farmers in the surrounding lands. He describes the layout of the forest, the placement of lookouts, the likely path of approach, every detail carefully, calmly, yet with urgency pressing just beneath the surface. You nod, tracing the route with your eyes, memorizing every step, every landmark. The knowledge sharpens your focus, each leaf, branch, and shadow becoming part of the map etched into your mind. The trek into the forest begins slowly, deliberately, feet brushing against frost-touched undergrowth, branches whispering as you pass. Sunlight slants through gaps in the canopy, forming narrow shafts of gold that illuminate patches of moss, turning the green into something almost otherworldly. The air grows colder as you move deeper, carrying the scent of pine, damp earth, and the faint temps of distant smoke from last night's hearths. Each step is measured, the small crunch of twigs and leaves carefully managed, almost inaudible as you weave your way toward the clearing that hides the hunting lodge. Finally, the lodge comes into view, a sturdy structure of logs and stone, the weathered wood worn by years of wind and rain, the roof lined with moss and lichen. 2 bandits are visible outside, one perched on the roof, scanning the surrounding woods with a wary eye, the other crouched by a fire, the blade in hand. Sharpening with methodical focus, your heart beats faster, a mixture of nerves and excitement, but the steady presence of Marcus and the quiet readiness of Jasper lend confidence, grounding the moment in purpose. You pause, breath slow, measured, listening to the natural rhythm of the forest and the subtle movements of your companions. Marcus gestures softly, and you freeze in place, waiting, counting seconds that stretch longer than they feel, each one weighted with possibility. Jasper lifts his lute, strumming a quiet note, the start of the melody that will twist fear into the hearts of the bandits. The first chord spreads through the trees, low, eerie, curling like mist, rolling over stone. The sound seems to move on its own, weaving through the branches, slipping along the forest floor. The bandit by the fire shifts uneasily, frowning, tightening his grip on the sword hilt, confusion and fear creeping into his posture. The lookout on the roof scans frantically. The shadows seem alive, moving, shifting impossibly. His eyes widen as he sees nothing and everything all at once. Jasper's melody intensifies, notes cascading, twisting, bending around invisible corners, each one a whispered threat, a spectral suggestion that amplifies the forest's natural sounds into a symphony of dread. Leaves rustle, birds cry, and the shadows themselves seem to quiver, echoing the strain of the music. Whispers barely audible, threading through the tune, suggests movement in every direction, shapes that vanish when glanced at directly. Threats that exist in perception as much as in reality. The bandits shuffle closer to the lodge door, clustering together, eyes darting, muscles tense. Panic creeps into their movements, small tremors running along their spines, as if the music itself were a living thing, shaping the air, twisting their nerves. Marcus strikes. One arrow whistles from the tree line, finding its mark with quiet precision. The lookout tumbles from the roof, a cry piercing the fog of the melody, landing near the fire with a thud that echoes softly, startling, but muted in the context of the cacophony Jasper has orchestrated. Another arrow follows almost immediately, burying itself in the ground, near the bandit by the fire, sending sparks dancing like angry spirits, fleeting and ephemeral. The bandits' confusion deepens, their minds filling in gaps with phantom enemies, shadows taking shape where none exist. They hear movement behind them, to the left, right, above, a forest alive with threats. This is your moment. You touch the stealth charm at your wrist, feeling the magic wash over you like cool water. The forest blurring, edges softening, your presence fading into the shadows. Each footstep becomes featherlight, each breath muted. You move as shadow upon shadow, invisible, intangible, yet every motion deliberate, every step guided by purpose. The leader of the bandits shouts orders, his voice sharp, commanding, but his words fall into the void, unanswered, as the melody wraps tighter around his mind. Bending his perception, confusion reigns, fear dominates. The first bandit bursts from the lodge, eyes wild, weapons clattering in his frantic grip. The others follow, fleeing into the dense trees, crashing through underbrush, their shouts swallowed by the forest. You slip behind the leader, timing every movement, precisely pummel connecting with the base of his skull. A clean, silent strike that sends him crumpling to the ground. The remaining bandits see nothing, empty air where you stand. Their nerve breaks entirely, and panic overtakes any semblance of organized resistance. 3 more flee, abandoning weapons, loot, and any hope of confrontation. Marcus emerges from the shadows, a satisfied grin on his face, bow in hand, scanning the clearing with quiet triumph. Jasper's music ceases, the sudden silence ringing almost deafeningly after the relentless tension of the melody. He blinks, disoriented, looking at the scattered remnants of chaos, then at you, eyes wide. Did we win? He breathes, voice still trembling from the adrenaline. You nod, confirmation settling in your chest with weighty satisfaction. We won, you reply, a quiet, firm affirmation that reverberates through the clearing. The forest seems to exhale, the tension dissipating, replaced by the soft rustle of leaves and distant bird calls, natural sounds reclaiming their space. You tie up the unconscious leader, careful and deliberate, and collect the abandoned loot. Sacks of grain, preserved meats, harvest pumpkins, tools, tangible proof of your victory. Each item carries the weight of relief and justice, a reminder that your actions ripple beyond immediate danger, restoring balance to the farmers' lives. The journey back to the village is slower, deliberate, each step cushioned by soft forest floor. The ambient sounds of nature soothing the residual adrenaline from the confrontation. By evening, the briar and barrow bursts with life, the news of your triumph preceding you, villagers eager to celebrate, their faces alight with gratitude and excitement. Henrik raises his mug in toast, voice carrying across the room. Cheers swell, mingling with laughter, clinking mugs, the warmth of the hearth, and the faint temps of ale. Jasper, reveling in the spotlight, strums his lute, composing a ballad, every note, a celebration, every pause, a dramatic flourish, capturing the chaotic beauty of the day's events. Patrons hum, tap along, and whisper tales of bravery, letting the melody weave through the tavern like an invisible thread connecting hearts and minds. Rewards are offered: gold coin, gifts from grateful villagers, a new adventuring pack, crafted by Fairhaven's best leatherworker. Gareth slides another drink across the bar with a wink, commenting on how the village feels safer now, how your courage and cunning have restored a sense of security. Edith, your grandmother, stands nearby, pride radiating from her posture. She gestures to the crowd, identifying faces who might need help, weaving potential stories of further adventures into the bustling scene. Her eyes soft, encouraging, affirming. The evening grows quieter as the tavern empties, but the warmth lingers, the residual glow of communal celebration, gratitude, and the satisfaction of a task completed. Sally and Jasper are together, clapping and laughing along with the retelling of events, the joy tangible in each gesture and smile. Jasper holds the glowing crystal orb, proof of your earlier daring, and the question of its fate lingers in the air. You discuss, debate, and settle on the careful return after demonstrating your success to Sally. Responsibility tempered by curiosity and mischief. Night draws near, the village quiets, and the hearths glow softly against the encroaching dark. You reflect on the day, the spellwork, the precision, the bravery, and the cooperation, realizing that courage is both small and monumental, contained in gestures as much as in grand victories. Sleep eventually claims you again, deeper and more peaceful, the world outside hushed. Fairhaven resting in the quiet assurance of heroes who move through shadows, strike at injustice, and leave communities safer than before. The following morning greets Fairhaven with a pale, gentle light, the kind that drapes itself lazily across rooftops, spilling into alleyways and slipping along the edges of the town square, curling around the wooden sign of the Briar and Barrel, whispering warmth to anyone willing to linger in its touch. You awaken to the faint scent of wood smoke from distant hearths, mingling with dew-soaked grass outside the window, stretching your limbs slowly beneath the weight of a heavy, satisfying sleep, the kind that follows danger, that settles into your bones with an almost sacred patience. Jasper, predictably restless, even at dawn, sits up beside you, strumming the softest notes along his lute, a melody so quiet it almost blends into the gentle hum of the waking village. You lean against the bedpost, letting the music thread through your thoughts, grounding you in the quiet moments before the day's activity begins. The morning is punctuated by small, subtle movements. The creak of the floorboards as patrons stir, the occasional clink of dishes being moved in preparation for breakfast, the soft scuff of boots across wooden planks. Marcus meets you promptly at the edge of the village, his expression calm yet alert, eyes scanning the faint mist that curls through the thornwood forest bordering the farmland. He gestures subtly, indicating the route to the bandit camp, each path, each branch, each shadow memorized and cataloged in the quiet recesses of your mind, a mental map traced with careful attention. Jasper follows at your side, adjusting the lute, humming faint, almost imperceptible notes to himself, an anxious rhythm he can't help but create. The forest awaits like a patient predator, its silence a delicate tension, broken only by distant birdsong and the whisper of leaves in the cool morning air, a symphony of anticipation. As you approach the edge of the forest, the light shifts subtly, shafts of sun slicing through the treetops in narrow beams, illuminating the forest floor in golden patterns that dance with the gentle breeze. Each step you take is deliberate, moss yielding softly beneath your boots, twigs and leaves carefully displaced, the faint crunch of dry earth muffled by concentration and the enchantment of the stealth charm. Marcus points out subtle details, a broken branch here, a worn path there, each hinting at the bandits' movements, their routines, their vulnerabilities. The lodge, hidden a mile deeper into the forest, remains invisible until the final approach, a sturdy log and stone building, roof lined with moss, smoke curling faintly from the chimney. 2 sentries patrol the perimeter, one crouched by a fire sharpening a blade, the other high on the roof, scanning the trees with a wary, almost panicked intensity. You pause, a breath caught in your chest, savoring the anticipation, the quiet thrill before action. The forest itself seems to lean closer, listening, holding its breath alongside you. Jasper's fingers hover over the lute strings, poised to release the melody that will bend perception, turn fear into an ally and confusion into a weapon. On Marcus's quiet signal, he slips into the undergrowth, almost invisible. A shadow among shadows, bow in hand, eyes flicking like a hawk, surveying prey. The first note spills from Jasper's lute, low curling, almost imperceptible at first, then building, spreading, the sound threading through every branch and leaf, seeping into the ground, infiltrating the air like fog. The bandits flinch, subtle, at first a frown, a shift of weight, then a tightening of grips, a nervous glance toward shadows that seem to move of their own accord. The melody grows, winding, twisting, notes cascading, blending with whispers of wind and rustling leaves, a symphony of dread that bends perception. Every crackle of fire, every distant bird call, every trembling shadow magnifies the effect. The bandit's confidence erodes, one by the fire jerks upright, squinting, trying to track movement that isn't there. Muscles taut, eyes wide with mounting panic. The lookout shifts uneasily, scanning frantically, the world appearing to twist, distort, and multiply. You feel the spell of the melody shaping the forest around them, amplifying their fear, turning ordinary branches into potential threats, rustling leaves into imagined reinforcements. Then Marcus's arrows whistle through the crisp air, finding marks with silent precision. The lookout tumbles from the roof, cries piercing the symphony Jasper has created, landing near the fire with a muffled thud, while another arrow strikes near the bandit tending the fire, sending sparks scattering like tiny, angry spirits. The confusion reaches its peak. Every rustle of leaves, every snapped twig becomes a phantom threat. The bandits shuffle, cluster eyes darting, weapons brandished at shadows. Panic blooms fully, a tangible fog around them, deafening in its intensity, yet quiet in its precision, controlled by your orchestration. You touch the charm at your wrist, and the world softens, edges blurring, footsteps silent as you move like a shadow upon shadows. Heart steady, eyes sharp, every movement measured, every breath calculated. The leader shouts, commands, swallowed by the cacophony of fear Jasper has woven, but his words falter, unheeded, as confusion spreads like wildfire. His remaining men scatter, abandoning loot, weapons, and any pretense of courage. 3 run into the trees, crashing through underbrush, terror-stricken, leaving only chaos behind. In the clearing, you slip behind the leader. Timing every motion perfectly, Pummel strikes the base of his skull with clean precision, and he collapses silently. The other bandits see nothing, feel nothing tangible, their nerves shredded by perception and suggestion. Marcus steps into view, a quiet satisfaction on his face, bow in hand, scanning the scene. Jasper ceases his melody, and silence falls, almost painfully, the sudden absence of sound amplifying the triumph and the lingering tension of victory. The camp secured, you tie up the unconscious leader, gathering the abandoned loot with deliberate care, sacks of grain, preserved meats, harvest pumpkins, tools, tangible proof that justice has been restored. Every object carries a story, a piece of relief and gratitude for the farmers who were robbed. A reminder of the ripple effect of courage and strategy. The journey back is deliberate, each footstep cushioned by forest soil. The air rich with the scent of pine and damp leaves, the quiet reassurances of birdsong reclaiming dominance in the forest. By evening, the briar and barrel overflows with villagers, their faces alight with gratitude and excitement, eager to celebrate, eager to hear the tale. Henrik raises a mug in toast, voice carrying over the roar of cheers and laughter, mingling with the warmth of the hearth and the scent of ale. Jasper, basking in the attention, plays a lively tune, each note capturing chaos and triumph, weaving the day's events into song. Patrons hum along, tapping, clapping, and letting the melody thread their emotions together, bridging every gap between relief, pride, and wonder. Rewards are offered: gold coins, gifts from grateful villagers, a new adventuring pack crafted by Fairhaven's finest leatherworker. Gareth slides another drink across the bar, commenting on how your bravery has restored a sense of safety, how your actions ripple through the village, changing life in subtle, meaningful ways. Edith, your grandmother, stands nearby, pride etched into her posture, pointing out villagers who might need assistance next. Weaving potential adventures into the present moment, her voice quiet but imbued with encouragement, warmth, and expectation. As night falls and the tavern empties, the warmth remains, a tangible glow from communal gratitude, celebration, and shared relief. Sally and Jasper sit together, clapping along, laughing, caught up in the joy of success. The glowing crystal orb in Jasper's possession offers tangible proof of prior exploits, its magic soft, radiant, and insistent, a reminder that courage, when coupled with careful planning, yields not only survival but triumph. You discuss, debate, and agree that the orb must be returned after demonstrating success. Responsibility intertwined with the thrill of daring. Outside, the village settles under the quiet cloak of night. Rooftops darkened, chimneys sighing faint smoke into the cold air. Lanterns casting amber halos against walls. You reflect on the day, on spellwork, strategy, courage, and collaboration, understanding that heroism is woven of small, precise actions as much as grand gestures. Sleep eventually draws you back deeper, this time more satisfying, carrying you into dreams cushioned by the knowledge that Fairhaven is safer, and that the threads of trust and bravery have been strengthened. Morning arrives slowly in Fairhaven, the kind of morning that drifts in lazily through the windows, catching on dust motes that float like tiny lanterns in the sunbeams, and you awaken with a soft stretch, the kind that hums through your muscles and wakes every fiber of your being. The air smells of fresh bread baking somewhere in the village, mingling with the subtle hint of frost lingering in the corners of your window. Jasper, predictably alert and restless even at dawn, sits cross-legged on the floor, fingers already brushing against the strings of his lute, weaving a melody so quiet it almost disappears into the morning itself, notes soft as wind through the treetops, almost tangible as they wrap around your consciousness. A gentle reminder that the day will demand attention. You swing your legs over the side of the bed, feeling the worn wood beneath your fingers, savoring the simple comfort of solid ground after the night's adventures. Every sense heightened, every detail sharper than it was the day before. Marcus is waiting outside by Pumpkin Grove Road, his silhouette framed by a pale, misty light, the hood of his cloak casting a shadow over his expression, yet his posture calm, practiced. He beckons with a quiet gesture, leading the way to the edge of Thornwood Forest, each step deliberate, each glance measured, the soft crackle of dried leaves underfoot muted by the subtle magic of your new charm. The forest itself greets you like a sentient observer, the air colder, the undergrowth whispering softly, leaves rustling with every faint breeze, all amplified in the stillness of dawn. Jasper trails behind you, glancing at shadows, humming a few low, anxious notes, adjusting his lute to accommodate the melody that will soon become an instrument of fear. The path is easy to follow at first, sun dappling the forest floor in moving patches of light. But deeper in, the canopy thickens, turning daylight into a muted glow that requires careful attention to every step. Moss slick beneath your boots, roots curling like hidden snakes, each movement deliberate to avoid alerting the bandits ahead. The hunting lodge sits quietly in a clearing, an unassuming structure of logs and stones, the roof lined with patches of moss and faint smoke curling from the chimney, evidence that life continues even in isolation. 2 sentries are stationed outside, one crouched by a fire, sharpening a blade, the other perched on the roof, eyes scanning the tree line nervously. The tension is palpable, the air thick with the expectation of confrontation, yet delicate in its quietness, like the instant before a violin string snaps in a silent room. You signal to Jasper a subtle nod, and he pauses, fingers hovering above the lute, feeling the anticipation coil in his chest. Marcus disappears into the undergrowth, a shadow among shadows, moving with the fluidity of practiced skill, almost merging with the forest itself, bow in hand, eyes scanning for the exact moment to strike. The quiet is a living thing. Each rustle of leaves, each distant bird call, magnifying the delicate balance of tension and preparation, the forest holding its breath alongside you. Jasper begins the melody first softly, curling through the trees like mist, almost imperceptible, and then building, notes winding, twisting, filling the clearing, bending perception and threading fear through every shadow. The bandits react subtly at first, tightening grips, scanning the surroundings with twitching muscles, the faintest signs of unease creeping across their faces. The melody grows layered, twisting whispers laced into the tune, faint enough to leave the mind to fill the gaps with imagined horrors. Confusion spreads like wildfire, threading through every sense, turning ordinary twigs into snapping jaws, distant birds into hidden attackers, shadows into stalking foes. One bandit by the fire jerks upright, squinting, scanning frantically, tension rippling through his stance, while the lookout on the roof twists uneasily, eyes wide, every nerve flaring as though the forest itself were closing in. Marcus' axe arrow slicing through the cool morning air, precise, silent, sending the lookout tumbling from the roof with a cry that is swallowed by Jasper's eerie melody. Another arrow strikes near the fire, scattering sparks in a delicate, almost magical dance. Small, angry bursts of light mingling with shadows, feeding the bandits' growing fear. You move then, hand to the charm on your wrist, and the world bends around you. Steps muted, body blurred, a shadow among shadows. Every movement measured, precise, and unseen. The leader shouts, commanding, trying to organize his men. But the words falter, swallowed by fear, swallowed by imagination, as the melody warps reality around them. Every rustle, every snap of a twig, every faint movement becomes amplified, monstrous, terrifying. The bandits' panic reaches a crescendo. They scramble, cluster weapons brandished at imagined threats. 3 flee into the forest, crashing through the underbrush, abandoning their loot, leaving chaos behind. You slip behind the leader, pummel striking the base of his skull cleanly. Silently, his collapse unnoticed in the symphony of fear that surrounds the remaining men. Marcus steps into view, bow still in hand, eyes surveying the abandoned camp, the quiet satisfaction of victory evident in every line of his face. Jasper ceases the melody, and the sudden silence is almost deafening, a sharp contrast to the panic before. Settling over the clearing like a soft, heavy blanket, you gather the abandoned loot, sacks of grain, harvest pumpkins, preserved meats, tools, tangible evidence of justice served. Each item carries its own story. Every sound of movement in the clearing a whisper of relief and gratitude. The trek back to Fairhaven is deliberate, the forest quieter now, only the gentle hum of the wind and distant birdsong filling the space. Moss underfoot cushions each step, air carries a faint lingering scent of smoke and pine, and the sun begins its slow climb, painting patches of warmth through the forest canopy. By the time you reach the Briar and Barrel, the tavern is alive with celebration. Villagers streaming in, eager to see you, eager to hear the story of the day, eager to give thanks. Henrik raises a mug, voice booming over the chatter, weaving a toast that stretches from corner to corner of the bustling common room. Jasper takes the stage, strumming a lively, intricate tune, capturing panic, confusion, and triumph in a melody that bends reality for those listening, the tavern swaying along with every note. Patrons hum along, tap their feet, clap in rhythm, caught up in the thrill of the tale, the melody threading their joy, their relief, their astonishment together into a shared experience. Rewards follow, coins, gifts, a finely crafted adventuring pack for you, and a custom loot for Jasper, tangible recognition of bravery, skill, and ingenuity. Gareth slides another drink across the bar, nodding, commenting on the security you've brought to the village, the justice restored, and the subtle ripple of safety and peace that now threads through Fairhaven. Edith, your grandmother, watches with pride, pointing out villagers who might benefit from your continued vigilance, weaving ideas for future adventures into the ongoing celebration, her voice soft, yet insistent, filled with warmth and gentle encouragement. Night descends slowly, the tavern empties, leaving warm light spilling into the cobblestone street. You feel the subtle calm of accomplishment, the quiet satisfaction that comes after danger and strategy, after precision and risk. Jasper plays quietly in the corner, recounting the day's events in melody, laughter spilling from his lips, blending with the warmth of hearth and company. Sally sits by his side, clapping along, caught up in the joy of success, her eyes wide with admiration. The orb still glows softly in Jasper's hands, proof of prior bravery, a tangible reminder of the delicate dance between courage, caution, and magical assistance. Outside, Fairhaven settles under a blanket of early evening rooftops, dark against a fading sky. Chimneys sighing faint smoke, lanterns glowing soft circles of amber. Villagers wandering home, conversations drifting on the cool breeze. You reflect on the day's events, on strategy, on bravery and teamwork, realizing that heroism is as much about calculated action as it is about boldness, as much about precision as it is about risk. Sleep finally calls, heavier and more satisfying than the previous night, carrying you into dreams cushioned by the quiet knowledge that the village is safer, that your efforts matter, and that bravery has tangible, rippling effects. The next morning stretches in slowly like honey spilling across a sunlit table, and you awaken to the soft rustle of leaves brushing against your window, the distant crow of a rooster, and the faint, comforting aroma of bread baking somewhere nearby. You swing your legs over the edge of the bed, feeling the familiar texture of worn floorboards beneath your fingertips. Grounding, familiar, almost soothing, and catch a glimpse of Jasper already awake. Sitting cross-legged on the floor, lute in hand, plucking the strings ever so gently, as if coaxing the notes into being with tender persuasion. Each soft vibration floats in the room, a gentle hum through the morning air, coaxing your senses awake with its subtle magic, an auditory massage of sorts, delicate and lingering, drawing you fully into the world around you. Outside, Marcus is waiting, the early light catching the edges of his cloak, a hint of mist curling around his boots, his posture alert yet calm, every movement measured with the precision of someone who knows the forest as intimately as a heartbeat. You rise, brushing the sleep from your eyes, adjusting the small charm Leia gifted you, the braid of string cool and comforting against your wrist, and step outside, inhaling the crisp morning air that carries the faint tang of frost and the earthy promise of adventure. The path to Thornwood is deceptively tranquil. Shafts of sunlight scatter across the forest floor, illuminating moss and leaf litter in dappled patterns that shift with each passing breeze. Birds flit through the undergrowth, calling softly, their songs weaving into the subtle rhythm of the forest, a lullaby layered with anticipation. Jasper hums quietly, a low winding tune that drifts behind you, harmonizing with the faint whispers of leaves and branches, a musical shadow guiding your every step. Marcus moves like liquid shadow beside you, careful, quiet, attentive eyes scanning the edges of the clearing, bow drawn, every muscle coiled in silent readiness. You follow, each step deliberate, the gentle weight of your pack grounding you, the magic of the charm softening the sound of your footfalls on the frost-tipped leaves. The air is heavy with anticipation thick enough to taste, almost metallic with the promise of confrontation, yet simultaneously soft and serene. A paradox that heightens every sense, every perception, and every heartbeat. The hunting lodge emerges through the trees like a storybook illustration, logs weathered by seasons of sun, wind, and rain, smoke curling lazily from a crooked chimney, windows reflecting the pale morning light. 2 bandits are stationed outside, one crouched by a smoldering fire, sharpening a blade, the other perched on the roof, scanning the tree line with visible unease. The clearing is still, the world holding its breath in the soft pause before chaos. Every leaf, every shadow, every faint crack of bark underfoot magnified in your awareness. You signal to Jasper, a subtle nod, fingers brushing against the strings in a gesture of readiness, and he pauses, inhaling slowly, the music lingering in his mind before he begins, carefully threading notes together like threads of silk, fragile yet potent. Marcus melts into the undergrowth, blending with shadow and light, moving as though he is part of the forest itself. His bow poised to release deadly precision at the exact moment, timing synced with the eerie dance of Jasper's melody. The first notes ripple outward, low, subtle, curling through the forest like fog, insinuating themselves into every rustle of leaves, every snap of twig, every whisper of wind. The bandits react first with subtle unease, tightening grips, shifting weight, scanning for threats that do not exist, their minds filling gaps with imagined horrors that the melody gently, insistently conjures. As the music builds, faint whispers lace the tune, unintelligible but unmistakably present, igniting fear and doubt with surgical precision. Shadows stretch unnaturally, trees sway where there is no wind, and the smallest crackling of fire seems magnified into the roar of approaching enemies. The lookout on the roof twists nervously, muscles taut, eyes darting to every movement in the forest, while the bandit by the fire jerks upright, sensing phantom dangers in every corner of the clearing. Marcus strikes the first arrow, hissing through the cool morning air, embedding itself in the shoulder of the lookout, sending him tumbling from the roof in a startled cry that is barely audible beneath the swirling panic Jasper's music has conjured. Another arrow lands near the fire, sending sparks dancing in tiny arcs that shimmer in the sunlight, feeding the illusion of magical forces at work. You move then, hand to the charm on your wrist, and the forest bends around you. Footsteps swallowed, figure blurred, moving with silent precision through shadows. The bandit's leader shouts commands, attempting to rally his men. But the words falter and die, his authority eroded by fear, his vision distorted by the layered illusions Jasper's song conjures. Every sound becomes a threat, every movement a signal of approaching danger, and their panic spirals into chaos. 3 bandits break first, fleeing into the forest, crashing through underbrush, and leaving weapons and stolen goods behind. Each retreat a symphony of fear, disorganized and raw. You slip behind the leader, striking with a single, precise blow that knocks him unconscious. Silently his collapse, merging with the surrounding chaos, unnoticed. Marcus emerges from the undergrowth, surveying the scene with a calm satisfaction, bow still in hand, eyes reflecting the relief of control restored to the moment. Jasper ceases his melody, the abrupt silence sharp and almost deafening, a sudden return to reality. A contrast so severe it leaves the ears ringing and the heart still vibrating from the music's intensity. You gather the abandoned loot, sacks of grain, pumpkins, preserved meats, and farming tools, tangible symbols of justice and restitution. Each item heavy with the unspoken gratitude of the villagers who will soon receive them. The forest seems to exhale with you, tension released into the soft morning air as you carefully retrace your steps to the village. Each footfall cushioned by the moss-covered ground, each breath mingling with the smell of pine, earth, and faint smoke from distant chimneys. Back at the Briar and Barrel, the tavern is alive with celebration, bursting with villagers eager to share in the story, eager to offer thanks, eager to participate in the tangible manifestation of their relief. Henrik raises a mug, his voice ringing clear above the murmur of the crowd, weaving a narrative of triumph and gratitude that reaches every corner of the room. Jasper takes center stage, strumming with fluidity and grace, capturing the essence of panic, confusion, and ultimate victory in his melody. Patrons clapping, tapping feet, humming, entranced, fully immersed in the auditory tapestry he creates. Coins, gifts, and practical rewards follow, a finely crafted adventuring pack for you, a custom loot for Jasper, and additional contributions from villagers. Tangible recognition of courage, cleverness, and dedication. Gareth slides another drink across the bar, nodding toward the celebration with a knowing smile, while Edith, Your grandmother points out villagers who might benefit from your presence, weaving tales and advice, her voice warm and encouraging, the perfect complement to the evening's atmosphere. Outside, night settles softly over Fair Haven, rooftops dark against a star-flecked sky, chimneys sighing faint smoke, lanterns casting gentle pools of amber light across cobblestone streets, and villagers wandering home with murmured thanks and quiet smiles. The satisfaction of success and the quiet pride of accomplishment settle over you like a soft quilt, thick and comforting, easing you into the promise of sleep. Jasper continues to entertain quietly, recounting the day's events through melody, laughter spilling into the tavern's remaining warmth, blending with the low crackle of the hearth and the gentle murmur of lingering patrons. Sally sits beside him, clapping, eyes wide with admiration, and the orb glows softly in his hands, a tangible reminder of magical prowess, courage, and the delicate interplay between risk and reward. Outside, Fair Haven breathes a collective sigh of relief. The village a little safer, the farmers a little less anxious, and the world outside a little less threatening. You reflect on the day's lessons: strategy, bravery, teamwork, magic, and ingenuity, all threading together, understanding that heroism is measured not only by daring deeds, but by precision, thought, and care. As the tavern empties and the evening winds down, you step outside into the cool night air. The stars overhead glimmering softly, the village quiet and safe, and you feel the subtle satisfaction of having restored balance, if only temporarily, to this corner of the world. Sleep finally calls, heavier and more fulfilling than the night before, bringing dreams cushioned by accomplishment, by recognition, and by the quiet certainty that your courage has left a mark on Fair Haven, a village that will remember your deeds, a community that will cherish your presence, and a world that feels just a little brighter because of you. Morning arrives slowly, the kind of gentle dawn that seeps through the cracks of shutters and warms the worn wooden floor beneath your feet, and you awaken to the soft murmur of the village coming alive outside your window. The scent of freshly baked bread drifts in, mingling with the faint aroma of dew-laden grass, and the first rays of sunlight filter through the panes, scattering gold across the walls in quiet, unhurried patterns, a promise of another day full of possibilities. You rise from your bed, stretching slowly, feeling the lingering warmth of sleep loosen from your muscles, and glance at Jasper, who is already stirring, fingers idly plucking the strings of his lute in a soft, tentative tune that fills the room with a delicate sense of peace, a soundtrack to a morning that feels almost sacred in its quietude. The charm on your wrist rests coolly against your skin, a tactile reminder of yesterday's victories and of the lives touched by your courage. The Thornfields, the villagers, even the distant whisper of gratitude from Fair Haven itself, and you tuck it beneath your sleeve, feeling the subtle thrum of protective magic woven through its braid. You step outside, the crisp morning air brushing against your cheeks, carrying the scent of pine, earth, and faint smoke from chimneys as villagers begin their day. The rhythmic clop of horse hooves, the creak of carts over cobblestone, the soft murmur of greetings exchanged between neighbors. The village feels alive, safe, and ordinary in a way that is comforting after days filled with danger and magic. Yet underneath the calm lies the unspoken excitement of potential, of adventures waiting just beyond the familiar horizon. Jasper trails behind, adjusting his lute, humming quietly, eyes bright with reflection on the escapades of the past day. He is, as always, a living chord of music and mischief, his presence both grounding and exhilarating. You take a deep breath, inhaling the mingling scents of the morning and the faint tanks of excitement that lingers in the air, a smell almost tangible, thick enough to feel in your chest and settle warmly in your bones. By mid-morning, word of your deeds has spread through Fair Haven, as naturally as water finding its way through the villages, winding alleys, and market stalls. Villagers nod, offer smiles, and murmur thanks, their expressions a mixture of relief and admiration, tinged with awe at the feats of bravery and cunning performed in the crypt, in the wizard's tower, and against the bandits. Each interaction is a gentle reminder that courage and skill have meaning beyond the immediate danger, that heroism resonates in the small, quiet ways, in smiles returned, in gratitude expressed, in the visible easing of worry lines on familiar faces. You make your way to the Briar and Barrel once more, the tavern already bustling with the aroma of cooking, the low hum of conversation, and the soft clinking of mugs, sensory notes that feel both comforting and celebratory. A lullaby of communal joy. Inside the tavern is a warm cocoon, hearth crackling, shadows dancing lightly along timbered walls, and the chatter of villagers forming a gentle undertone beneath the melodic strum of Jasper's instrument. He takes center stage, recounting yesterday's adventures through music, the crypt, the spirits, the wizard, the levitating cat, each note a brushstroke painting the story in the minds of his audience. Patrons lean forward, mugs forgotten for a moment, absorbed by the layered narrative, punctuated by laughter and occasional gasps. You watch Jasper, feeling the resonance of his performance echo through the space, connecting every listener to the pulse of events, making each person feel present in the tale, as though they had moved through the crypt, scrambled down the spiral staircase, or leaped from the wizard's window alongside you. The warmth of the tavern is heightened further by the presence of your grandmother, Edith, her eyes bright with pride and her voice weaving gentle commentary into the recounting of events, highlighting the courage, cunning, and kindness that underpinned the day's victories. She points out villagers who may benefit from future assistance, subtly planting seeds of connection, care, and community, while also drawing attention to those in the room who might be inspired to cultivate their own courage and skill. Her presence is a soft anchor, a reminder of legacy, of guidance, and of the gentle influence one life can have on many others. Jasper's music adapts to her interruptions, flowing around them gracefully, never interrupted, always enriched, a living, breathing testament to harmony in action. Soon, a small figure approaches Leia, clutching Whiskers tightly against her chest, her green eyes bright with delight and gratitude. The cat mews softly, exploring the room with cautious curiosity, brushing against legs, sniffing plates, and finally settling beside her delighted owner. Leia kneels, presenting a small, braided charm, the kind of simple, practical magic passed down through generations, and you feel its subtle warmth in your palm. Magic, gentle but genuine, threaded with intention and care. Her words are earnest, filled with the belief that bravery should be rewarded, and that kindness should be recognized. This small token, humble yet potent, is a tangible reminder that heroism is not measured solely by grand gestures, but also by careful, considered action, and by the ways one touches the lives of others. The rest of the day drifts by like a slow, warm current. You wander the village, observing life in quiet detail, savoring the textures and rhythms of ordinary existence after days filled with danger. Children chase each other with improvised wooden swords, squabbling over who will play the dragon, the knight, or the orc. Laughter ringing through the streets, light and sharp as a chime. Farmers, relieved by the absence of bandits, tend their livestock and crops with renewed attention, sharing nods and smiles as they notice you and Jasper passing by, carrying the spoils of reclaimed goods and the promise of safety restored. You pause frequently, absorbing sensory details the way sunlight glints off frost on rooftops, the faint rustle of wind through tall grasses, the scent of fresh earth and baking bread, the murmur of conversations spilling from open windows, each moment small, yet profound in its intimacy and beauty. By evening, the village center is alive with celebration once again. Villagers gather, clapping, cheering, and toasting to your deeds, while Jasper, invigorated by the music and attention, composes and performs a new ballad, weaving humor, tension, and heroism together in intricate harmony. Drinks are shared, coins exchanged for praise, and practical gifts offered in an adventuring pack crafted by the town's best leatherworker. Contributions for Jasper's loot, and a collection of small but meaningful tokens acknowledging the danger faced and courage demonstrated. The sense of community, of collective appreciation, and shared experience forms a warm, tangible current running through the tavern, and you feel it wrap around you, anchoring you to this moment, this village, this life. The evening deepens, and a hush falls as Lord and Lady Farweather enter the tavern. Their presence commands attention. The room settles into a near silence, all eyes turning toward the pair as they approach Jasper. Formality hangs in the air, heavy yet gentle, as Lord Farweather extends words of apology and acknowledgement, recognizing bravery, responsibility, and heroism in protecting the farmers and villagers. Jasper, visibly nervous but hopeful, responds with humility and sincerity, his earlier exuberance tempered by the weight of this recognition. Lady Farweather confirms their support for his courtship of Sally, conditional only upon demonstrating the ability to provide and contribute meaningfully to the community. Jasper accepts without hesitation, enthusiasm mingled with relief, and the villagers erupt into renewed cheers. Their collective energy, a tangible force that seems to lift the room into its own crescendo of celebration. As the night winds down, the tavern empties slowly, laughter and conversation tapering into soft murmurs, the warm glow of lanterns fading against the deepening night, and the scent of hearth and bread lingering in the corners of the room. You sit with your grandmother, sharing quiet moments of reflection, watching Jasper entertain the remaining patrons with the day's retelling, each note carrying the weight of experiences, risks, victories, and the unspoken bonds forged in adventure. Sally remains beside him, clapping and laughing, a quiet affirmation of bravery recognized and friendship rewarded. Outside, Fairhaven rests beneath the star-flecked sky, streets hushed, rooftops dark, and hearts lighter as the village collectively exhales. Safe, restored, and quietly grateful. You breathe in deeply, feeling the soft warmth of accomplishment settle over you like a comforting quilt, a mixture of pride, relief, and gentle excitement for the adventures yet to come. The day has ended, but the world feels alive with possibility. Every shadow, a potential story. Every breeze a whisper of unseen magic. Every heartbeat a reminder of courage, connection, and the quiet heroism of those who act with care and intention. You know with a certainty that settles deep in your chest that the next adventure is just over the horizon and that whatever it may bring, you are ready. The village sleeps peacefully now, but in the quiet, in the lull between breaths, the threads of future stories begin to weave themselves. Whispers of danger, glimpses of wonder, the promise of heroism, and the soft echo of music lingering in the air. And as you close your eyes that night cocooned in warmth, surrounded by the familiar hum of life and the quiet assurance of purpose, you feel a gentle, abiding sense of belonging, of being exactly where you are meant to be, ready for whatever comes next.